by the time I had gathered up enough money to be able to award a few scholarships, I was really excited and put them out there, and we marketed them heavily and told students about them and told the community about them. And I had very, very few applicants. And the same thing happened the next semester. And I started thinking, what the heck's going on? And so I started talking to students and faculty and staff. And two things kind of came to the forefront. And one of them is that community college students, and I think probably college students in general, don't see themselves as quote unquote scholarship material. They think that scholarships are only things that go to the class valedictorian or students with a weighted 4.0 GPA. And that simply isn't true. There are literally scholarships out there for everybody who's motivated enough to go to college. And the second thing that rose to the top was that students were almost universally daunted by the idea of writing a scholarship essay. They said, yeah, I saw the essay was required and I didn't know what to say about myself. And so I put together this workshop, not only for that reason, but because I talked to a lot of students who were looking at the idea of taking out loans to go to college and just right off the bat going into debt to go to college as an option. And I want you guys to come away from this class, if you come away with nothing else, please don't think of going into debt for an education as being your first option. You know, if you're down the road towards the end of a degree, you need to borrow some money to pay that last little bit of tuition or something. Okay, but please don't look at that as your mode for going to college. So we're going to talk about primarily how to apply for scholarships, but I'm also going to talk about some other strategies for making your way through college without graduating burdened by debt. When you graduate and you have your degree, you want to embark on that career that you worked so hard for, not go into a bunch of debt. So we're going to talk about where scholarships come from to begin with, such that when you come away from the class, you know where they come from and why it's important to know that. You know how to write a basic 500-word scholarship essay. I'm going to give you some special tips for giving your essay an edge over the other essays that might come through the process. And we're going to talk about the basics of conducting a scholarship search. And then I'm going to conclude the class by talking about the scholarships that NPC Friends and Family has available for students who are attending Northland Pioneer College in the fall 2021 semester. And I want you to know that while this class is certainly geared toward Northland Pioneer College and attending NPC, I want you to understand how to apply for any scholarship and that I will try to help you do that. And then we'll conclude with questions and answers. So going back to that first slide, where do scholarships come from? Normally I teach this in a more of a roundtable format or an in-person classroom format, and we get students to give responses. And I always like that because one of the first things that they say is scholarships, you know, they raise their hand and they go, scholarships come from the government. And I always thank them for that answer because it's not correct. Scholarships do not come from the government. The financial aid that you hear about when you get told to fill out your FAFSA, and believe me, I will join the nagging chorus that tells you to fill out your FAFSA. That financial aid comes from the federal government. That's what's called a Pell Grant. And that is money that you don't have to pay back, just like a scholarship, but that's a grant from the government. Scholarships, on the other hand, come from charitable donations from people who are generally referred to as philanthropists. And a philanthropist is simply someone who seeks to improve the lives of others through charitable work or charitable donations. And what I want you to know about this is when we think about philanthropists, we think of people like Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and Jeff Bezos and people who are multi-gazillionaires. And it's true that those people do a lot of philanthropic giving. They do donate a lot of money. But about 80% of the charitable giving in this country comes from people of average income. And so why is it important to know this? And why is it important to think about this? Well, they have a limited amount of money to award. So scholarships come from donations and from maybe events that are held and things like that. And so that's all the money there is to award, is that amount of money that can be raised for that particular scholarship. So think about that in terms of who is awarding you the scholarship. When you apply for a scholarship, there's generally a committee of people. And again, these are the average citizens who do charitable giving, who review scholarship applications and decide who gets the award. And so again, why is it important to know this? Well, you all are probably seniors in high school, or maybe parents of seniors in high school. And so you know that the first part of writing for any kind of effect is that you need to consider your audience. So your audience is this group of charitable givers who want to find a great student to give a scholarship to, but you're probably in all likelihood never going to meet them in person. And so how in the world are you going to make an impression on a bunch of people that you're never going to meet and convince them that you're the person who should get the scholarship? Well, I'm going to tell you, first of all, don't start your scholarship essay by saying, my name is Mary Smith, and I'm going to be graduating from Jones High School in 2021, and I'm going to be going to University of Arizona, and I'm going to major in elementary education. Don't do that, because that's how almost every scholarship essay in the world starts. And so it's not going to set yours apart and make you special. The best way to make a contact, a connection with this group of people that you're never going to meet, is to tell a story. Tell a story about yourself. This is a lot more engaging and makes the audience that's reading your essay feel that they sort of know you personally. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of when I've seen this done to great effect. And then I want you to kind of think about how you can do this for yourself. So the first example comes from back when I first started with NPC Friends and Family. And we had so few applications that we used to do scholarship reviews as sort of a roundtable, just like that slide that I just showed you. We all would literally sit at a table. And I was an ad hoc participant. I didn't select the applicants, because I helped them put their applications together. So that would be a conflict of interest. I still don't accept the applicants, and I will still help you put your application together. So I used to read these essays out loud. The scholarship review committee would follow along, and we would discuss them, and then they would select who they wanted. So this essay came from a young woman who began her essay by saying, when I was growing up in this small town in southern Arizona, all the kids wanted to be 16 years old so that they could get their driver's licenses. I wanted to be 16 years old so I could become a junior wildland firefighter. And she talked about how her father and her grandfather were both firefighters. And in fact, her grandfather had founded the fire department in the little town where she lived. So she turned 16 and she got her first call out to a wildland fire. And she talked about driving down the road in the fire truck, and she was sitting between her dad and her grandpa, and they were going down this dirt road, and there was a fire burning through the tall grass perpendicular to the road, coming toward the road that they were on. And she said, you know, as the fire got closer, I could smell it, and then I could hear it. I could hear it roaring. And all of a sudden, my grandfather stopped the truck in the middle of the road, and he turned to me and he said, don't be scared. We're going to pull our turnouts up over our faces, and we're going to crawl underneath the truck. The fire is going to burn over the road, and we're going to flank it and fight it. And in her next sentence, she said, I was scared to death. And I looked around the room at that committee, and they were in that story. And I think if I had not read anything else in her essay, they'd have handed her the scholarship. They were so caught up in who she was, and not just her interest in becoming a firefighter, but her passion for becoming a firefighter. So that was a really outstanding and engaging beginning to a scholarship essay. The second one is very different from that, and I'm going to tell you this for a couple of reasons that I'll allude to later, but this was when I was helping a young man edit his scholarship essay, and he sent it to me, and I opened it, and it began, when I was in high school, I ruined my life. At 16, I was fast on the way of becoming an alcoholic. And by the time I was in my senior year, I had left high school. And I just wanted to spend all my time with my friends who were drunk or high. And I'm reading this going, this is a scholarship essay? And then I kept reading, and the light went on. And he went on to say, I had pretty much hit rock bottom. And one day, my uncle came to me and he said, I want you to join in a family project. We are going to be building a hogan for a female relative, and I want you to be part of that process. and he told me where he wanted me to show up the next day. And he said, to this day, I don't know why I did it. I think it was probably my last chance to connect with my family. But I did go. And when I went through that process that took the next several weeks, I learned about myself. I learned that I loved working with my hands. I learned that I loved using tools. I loved measuring. I loved the precision of building. And when we had finished the project, I felt this great sense of pride for the first time in my life that I had done something like that, that I had been a part of that. So he went on and told how he was hoping to get a scholarship to go to NPC and earn an Associate of Science in Construction Technology, and eventually one day become a project manager. So completely different way of beginning a scholarship essay, but both of these were stories that really ended up captivating their audiences and sort of putting those people on their side right from the very beginning. So think about what you can do. And as graduating high school seniors, I understand that you may not yet have that sort of passion for something. You may not have realized that spark that those two students did. But think about what you are passionate about. Think about why you are continuing your education, why it's important for you to go on to college, and talk about that, and talk about where you hope college will take you. So think about, in this first paragraph, engaging that audience. So now you've got this great first paragraph. You've hooked and held the audience. They're on your side. Now you've got to talk about your education. So now that we know that you want to do this, how are you going to accomplish it? This paragraph is key, because what you have to put in it is a lot of detail about your educational path. It is not sufficient just to say, I'm going to get my associate degree from Northland Pioneer College and become a medical office manager, or I'm going to get my associate degree from Northland Pioneer College and transfer to NAU to get a degree in wildlife biology. That's all good, and that's probably what you're doing, but you need to give enough detail that you explain to the committee that you know where you're going. So this means when you say you're going to graduate with an associate degree from Northland Pioneer College, how many credit hours a semester are you able to take? So full-time is considered 12 or more credit hours, but a lot of our students go part-time because they have other obligations. They have other commitments to family, to jobs, to those sort of things. So a class, when you figure a class is about 3 to 4 credits, how many classes can you take a semester? So how many semesters is it going to take you to graduate? And then if you're going beyond that, what does that look like? Are you going to get a bachelor's degree? Are you going to get a master's degree? The reason it's so important to provide this level of detail is because if you don't, you can plant a seed of doubt in that review committee's mind that even though you're passionate and excited about becoming a firefighter, you don't really know what it entails. You don't really know how many semesters it takes. You don't really know that an associate degree takes 64 credit hours. And I'm telling you, if you're listening to this workshop right now and you don't know that, it's time to make an appointment with an academic advisor and chart out your degree plan, at least to such a degree that you are able to convey it to a scholarship review committee. Because if you don't, they're going to think, gosh darn, this applicant sounds so good, but they may not finish what they started. So now you've got 2 paragraphs. You've hooked and won your audience with that super first paragraph. You've convinced them you know exactly where you're going because you've described your degree path in detail. And now you have to convince them that you are a resourceful person. What is a resourceful person? And why is this important? A resourceful person is someone who makes use of everything available to them. This is super important in terms of applying for scholarships because there's almost no such thing as the quote unquote full ride scholarship that provides for your tuition and your books and your course fees and all that. Most of the scholarships you're going to be applying for are in the $500 to $2,000 range. That's not going to get you through a college degree. So the review committee needs to know that you have some skin in the game. They need to know that you're committed enough to your education that you're doing other things to fund it. And you're going to explain to them all the things that you can bring to the table that are going to help you get your degree. So what kinds of things can you talk about? Well, first of all, I'm going to get up on my soapbox here and I'm editorializing, but I'm going to tell you why. I think it's very important that you work while you're going to college. A lot of students tell me that I don't want to work while I'm going to college because I want to focus on my grades. Well, that's a nice thought, and most people want to focus on their grades, but you're not going to get enough financial aid and scholarships to live on while you're going to college. So you need to work. I worked 2 and 3 jobs while I was going to college back in the day. But there's another reason you need to work while you're going to college, and that's because when you graduate and you're ready to go out and get your career with that degree that you earned, you need to know how to work. And this may sound like a no-brainer to those of you who do have jobs or who have worked, but I'm going to tell you another story. I have a friend that several years back, in a professional capacity, had to hire an engineer. And they were hiring someone that's called an engineer in training. So someone that is right out of college with a bachelor's degree in engineering, and it's an entry-level professional position. So this person had a stack of resumes to look at, and every resume that the person had to look at was very qualified in terms of grades, in terms of having earned the appropriate degree, and not a single one of them, not a single applicant had ever had a job. And I don't mean that they never had a job as an engineer. I mean, they had never had a job bagging groceries. They'd never had a job working in fast food. They'd never had a job stocking shelves at Walmart. They'd never had a job mowing grass. Why is this important? Because this person ended up hiring one of those candidates. And he said, eventually he made a good worker, but it took him about 4 or 5 months to come up to the speed of being a worker. So this was a person who was hired as a professional to do a job, who was coming to his supervisor every day going, okay, I finished with that task. What do I do next? Okay, I don't know what to do now. Tell me what to do now. And he also didn't sort of know how to work in, an office environment, and how to work with the, within the sort of structure that exists between people working in an establishment. So it's good to know how to work. It's also going to give you the funds to go to college. Other things you can talk about: if you have applied for financial aid and you're receiving financial aid, which is called the Pell Grant, by all means, tell that, tell that you have financial aid. If you've got some other scholarships coming, you can talk about them. It's not going to keep you from getting a scholarship. If you have savings, if you've worked and saved money so that you can go to college, if your family has saved money for you and they're going to be helping you, but it doesn't quite make, all the ends meet, talk about that. Scholarship committees need to know that you are invested in your education. They are not looking to provide you with a living. They want to see that you are the best investment they can make in that limited amount of money that they've been able to raise through donations. That's why scholarships are competitive, because the money is limited. So you want to be that great investment. And to do that, you've got to show that you've got some skin in the game. So now you've got 3 paragraphs. You have hooked and held your audience because you're such a passionate person and you came across as such a personable person in that first paragraph with your story. In your second paragraph, you described your degree path in such detail that the committee has no doubt that you know where you're going. In the third paragraph, they now recognize you as a resourceful person who has what it takes to pursue a college degree. Now, in the fourth paragraph, you got to sum it all up. This is where you tell them, if I am awarded your scholarship in the amount of $500, this is what I will use it for. And be specific. Tell them what you will use it for. If you don't, they really think you don't need it. Or they're going to assume that maybe you're going to use it to go to Disneyland with your friends. So in the fourth paragraph, use the scholarship by name, use the amount in the essay, and then state how you will use the scholarship if awarded. So for example, if I am awarded the Press Winslow Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $1,000 for the fall 2021 semester, I am going to use it to defray the cost of books that are not covered by my financial aid award. See, so this is what I have to bring to bear. This is what it covers, but this is where I'm missing a little bit of money, and this is where you can help. Very valid things to request scholarship dollars for include transportation to get to your classes. A lot of students at Northland Pioneer College live far away from the campus or center they're attending. We're a really distributed college. So, many of our students travel upwards of 100 miles in a round trip. If that's you, then tell how many miles you travel a week to get to classes and how much it costs you, and say, I'm going to use the scholarship in part for gas money. You can use it to defray childcare costs. You can use it for supplies that you otherwise couldn't afford. You can use it for course fees. Anything that validates you're getting your education is a good request for scholarship dollars. Now, this scholarship essay that we've just talked about, these 4 paragraphs, can be written and kept on your computer. You don't have to rewrite a new scholarship essay for every application you submit, but you customize the essay every time you submit it for another scholarship. So like when you get to that last paragraph, be sure to change the name of the scholarship and the amount to go with the application that you're submitting. Okay, so that's your 4-paragraph, 500-word essay. I'm going to remind you of this again, but do not ever exceed word count on an essay, ever, because it gives the committee a reason to disqualify you. So use that function in your Word software that keeps track of the word count and follow it. And then you've introduced yourself and made a connection with a story. You've described your degree plan in detail. You've talked about all the resources you have, and you've told the committee how you will use the scholarship if you're awarded. So you're going to sum it all up by thanking them for considering your application. That's your essay. Now I'm going to talk to you about some tips for making your application stand out above all the rest, besides the great essay you just wrote. So first of all, a lot of scholarship applications require letters of recommendation, and these can be from your teachers, your coaches, clergy members, people that you've worked for, people that you've volunteered for. They should never come from friends and family members, because they're never going to say anything bad about you, right? So you can't like have a scholarship letter of recommendation from your aunt, but you can have it from somebody that you worked for, or you can have it from somebody, you know, your coach from high school. The key about letters of recommendation is to request them right away. You never want to miss a scholarship deadline. You're going to submit your applications early, well in advance of the deadline. And you're going to ask your recommenders for the letters of recommendation well in advance. You want to make it clear to the recommenders to whom they should be sending the letters, because usually scholarship applications require that the recommenders send their letters directly to the person who receives the applications. In other words, you can't take their letter and put it in your application any more than you can send a letter of recommendation for a job. It has to come from the recommender. A key that you can do, a tip that will help you, is to give your recommenders a copy of your scholarship essay. That way they can look at what you wrote in the essay and they can reinforce what you said in their letter of recommendation. And then it's okay, once you ask them for the letters of recommendation and you submit your application, keep reminding them gently and in a nice way, did you send my letter of recommendation? Because you don't want your scholarship application to be jeopardized because it's missing letters of recommendation. So don't be afraid to keep nudging them. If they're willing to help you, they want it to go through. Okay, follow the application instructions. If the application instructions are to send a single PDF document electronically, send a single PDF document electronically. Do not send a whole bunch of attachments, okay? If it says to put 6 copies in a manila envelope and mail it to an address, put 6 copies in a manila envelope and mail it. This sounds like a no-brainer, but I can't tell you how many applications get rejected because the students didn't follow the directions. And by the way, that doesn't make you look very resourceful if you don't follow the instructions. Okay, if the scholarship requests an essay on a topic, stick to that topic. So for example, we just talked about this personal essay, which is often what's required, but NPC Friends and Family has one scholarship that asks the applicants to write about how they feel art is important to society. So if that's what they ask, write about why you think art is important to society. As a good writer, you can also work in ways that show that you're a resourceful candidate for that scholarship, because you're going to have a beautiful, well-edited, clean document to send them. Okay, well in advance of the deadline is when you're going to submit the application. You're not going to send it on the day it's due. Too many things can go wrong, you guys. I will not take late applications for any reason. Most scholarship funding organizations won't even contact you and tell you that they didn't get it. They'll just, it's ignored. So do not send it on the day it's due. Too many things can go wrong. Okay, submit it exactly as it was directed that you submit it. Never exceed the word count. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of scholarships here at the end of this presentation, and you will not meet the criteria for every one of them. Do not apply for all of them. Only apply for those for which you meet the criteria. Do not apply for scholarships you don't qualify for. Okay, This is especially hard, I think, for younger students and kind of for guys. Don't worry about being passionate in your writing. Let yourself come through your writing. Let yourself shine through, because you've got to make that connection that sets your application apart from all the others in the stack. There are a lot of students out there who have a lot of good reasons to need scholarships, and sometimes there's only one to be awarded and we get 10 or 15 applications. You want yours to really shine. So don't be afraid to let your passion come through in your writing. Okay, most scholarships have an application form that accompanies the scholarship, and it will say, you know, fill in your name, what's your address, what's your phone number, what high school did you attend, what year did you graduate, what was your GPA, were you part of any clubs, did you play sports? When you get to the essay, don't just regurgitate what you said in the application, build on it. So for example, instead of saying what you said in your application, which was that you were in the National Honor Society in your junior and senior year, when you get to that third paragraph in your essay, when you're talking about how resourceful you are, say, when I was the president of the National Honor Society in my junior year of high school, we had a coat drive in our community that brought in over 100 coats for the families in the community during the winter. So build on your accomplishments. Don't just restate that you were in the Honor Society. This is a huge one. This is huge. Do not tell a sob story. What is a sob story? So when I teach this class live, I know that you all know what a sob story is, because everybody goes, it's a story you tell to make people feel sorry for you. That's exactly what it is. It's meant to do nothing but elicit sympathy. And I will tell you that you will make everybody on the scholarship committee feel very badly, and they'll feel sorry for you, but they will not give you a scholarship. Why? Scholarships go to resourceful people. They go to the best investment in that committee's money. They're looking for someone who's a doer. If you are living in the victim seat, you're living, as my mom used to say, on the pity pot, you're not a doer. You're not a resourceful person. That doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to us. Bad things happen to everybody. And I'll tell you something else. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk about it, but you should not talk about them because you are trying to elicit sympathy. Only talk about them if they have to do with your pursuit of your education. So let me give you a couple examples of this. We all the time receive applications from nursing students who went through something in their lives, whether it was their own illness or catastrophic injury or that of a loved one, and they were so inspired. You know, they talk about that experience and they say, you know, I was so inspired by the nurses who cared for me that now I want to become a nurse. That's not a sob story. That's telling about a bad thing that happened, but it's putting it in a positive way. This was how it worked for me. Think back about the example I gave you of the young man who told the story about becoming an alcoholic at 16. Was that a sob story? That was an empowering story. That was a story of a victor and a survivor. That was a story where someone said, yeah, I was down here, but I learned from that, and now I'm up here, and boy, look at where I'm going. So it's okay to tell stories like that as long as they're relevant to your educational path and as long as they fit in with what you want the scholarship committee to know about you. Okay, you all know as college students that you need to write well. You need to have a really clean essay that doesn't have a bunch of capitalization and punctuation errors. So you need to have editors to look at things for cleanliness and good mechanics. But there's another reason you need editors. When you finish your scholarship essay, and in fact, when it's been edited for good mechanics, pick a few trusted friends, and this can also be family members who know you really well and who will be honest with you, and give them that essay and say to them, when you read my scholarship essay, don't just say, did I do a good job? Because they'll go, oh yeah, you're such a good writer, because your family and friends want to make you feel good. You know, that's not going to help you. Ask them, after you read my essay, would you give me the scholarship? Why or why not? And then listen to what they have to say. As writers, we are all endeavoring to be close to the topic we're writing about. And we ought to be pretty close to ourselves. We ought to know ourselves well, right? Well, sometimes we're so close to a topic that we think we've really explained it. We think we've made it very clear because we know what we mean, right? And that's why you need that second or third or fourth set of eyes to say, you know, I think in this third paragraph where you were talking about how resourceful you are. You never mentioned that you worked all summer last year to save up for your first car. You never mentioned that when grandma broke her hip, you were the one who did all her grocery shopping and took care of her. Or you didn't tell about the time you got your Eagle Scout. They can also pull your horns in and they can go, you know what? When you said this, I think you sounded a little full of yourself. I don't think you sounded enthusiastic. I think you sounded big-headed. I think I would reword that a little bit. They can help you make the difference between whether you get the scholarship award or not. So listen to those editors who tell you about the content of your essay. I'm not even going to tell you anything more about this. If you didn't do it, don't say you did. And if you did do it, don't say you didn't. Okay, so those are the tips now for making your scholarship application and essay stand out and shine. Now we're going to talk about scholarship searches, and I'm going to tell you that they take effort. And I want to preface this by giving you something to think about. I always hear from students when I tell them about finding a search engine and looking at all the scholarships in the search engine and finding the ones that they can apply for, they always go, oh, that's going to take a long time. And I go, yes, it is. Think about applying for scholarships almost like a little part-time job. And I'll tell you how this works. Let's say that you leave this class tonight and you write this fabulous essay. You really put your heart and soul into it. You put your time into it. You get it edited. You find your editors to edit the content. It's great. And then you go and you do a search, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. And you go through all of these potential scholarships and you find like 6 of them that you can apply for this week. And you put all the application materials together and you send all your stuff out and you apply for those 6 scholarships. And by the way, that's how you do it. Don't think, oh my gosh, there's 200 scholarships on this search engine and I'm going to have to apply for all of them. You do it like you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And you say, okay, this week I'm going to find 5 opportunities to apply for. Next week, I got to work and I got that term paper due. So I'm going to find 2 scholarships I can apply for. And just keep yourself self-directed and keep yourself in the game that way. So go back to the example and say that, you wrote your essay, you did all these applications and sent them out, and all that took you 4 hours. And it will. You wrote the essay, you did all that work, and you get some rejection letters because you will. You're not going to get every scholarship you applied for. But let's say that a couple weeks roll around and you get this letter in the mail and it says, congratulations, you've received the Press Winslow Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $1,000. Took you 4 freaking hours. How much did you just earn an hour for your work? So if you're a good NPC student, I know that you can tell me that you just made $250 an hour for that effort. If you look at pursuing scholarships in that perspective, it is definitely a worthwhile thing to do to help you fund your education. So how does a scholarship work? The first thing I'm going to totally nag you about is that you need to fill out your FAFSA. If you haven't filled out your FAFSA for next year, you need to fill out your FAFSA now. You need to fill out your FAFSA yesterday. I'm going to show you the page where you go to fill out your FAFSA. As soon as it opens here. This is what it looks like. And if you've never done it before, you're going to start here if you have your old hat. But you got to do this, you guys. You got to fill out your FAFSA, not just because NPC Friends and Family requires it. Most of the scholarships that you're going to apply for want you to fill out the FAFSA. Why? Because the FAFSA generates something called a student aid report, or a SAR. And it's the first page that you get back after you submit your FAFSA, and it's kind of a report of everything that you submitted. And it will say on that page what your EFC is. EFC is an acronym for Estimated Family Contribution. And then it will also say something like you may or may not qualify. You may qualify for financial aid, or you don't qualify for financial aid. It's not going to disqualify you from getting a scholarship if you quote unquote make too much money. I love that phrase because it's such an oxymoron. Nobody makes too much money. And college is hard to afford, right? So it's just the reason they have you fill out the FAFSA is because it is a common measuring stick for looking at everybody's financial need. But scholarships are not just about financial need. It's only one piece of the puzzle. So do your FAFSA and be sure, especially like, for example, if you're going to NPC, be sure that you have a financial aid file underway. and be sure that you have everything that they need to get it. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is find a search engine, and you can Google these. You look for, scholarship searches. You should never have to pay for one. There are a lot of free scholarship searches out there. If you're going to Northland Pioneer College, this is a good one because most of the ones on here are things that NPC students can use. They're not all for NPC students though, so if you're planning to go somewhere else, that can help you too. So that's what this page looks like. When you get to this page, you can go to NPC Friends and Family, enter that as your search term, and we're going to do that in just a minute. But before we do that, notice that all of these are arranged in alphabetical order, and you can go through here and look at them and kind of look for the criteria. If you want to read about them, you just click on the scholarship and see what it says to see if you're qualified to apply for that one, and it'll probably tell you how to apply. And then we're going to talk for a minute about NPC Friends and Family scholarships, and I'm going to go into more detail about these before we're done. So you're going to put NPC Friends and Family in the search bar and then click search. And everything that we have for the fall 2021 semester currently says Thursday, April 15th is the deadline, and it's closed. On Monday, March 1st, all of these are going to say open. That means that I will accept your application starting March 1st. But right now, even though they're closed, you can go on one of them and you can click on it and read about all the criteria. The other cool stuff that you can find, you can see the criteria here and see if you meet the criteria. Here's the submission requirements. This is how you send it. You're going to need this cover letter form, but this is a fillable PDF. So all you have to do is click on it and fill it out. Tips for writing your scholarship essay is the outline for this class. So if you forgot what I said, here's the outline for your 4-paragraph, 500-word essay. And then you can download a PDF flyer that has all of these details if you want to take that along with you. It tells everything about it. So you can look at any one of these NPC Friends and Family scholarships and see which ones you meet the criteria for. And once again, do not apply for them unless you meet the criteria for them, and you won't qualify for all of them. And I'm going to show you two in particular that you need to be careful of. We have one called the Fill the Gap Scholarship and one called the Leg Up Scholarship. There are 9 of these awarded every semester because we set one aside for every campus and center we have. But sometimes a campus or center doesn't have applications. They don't have any applicants. So that means there's more for other places. So you have a really good chance of getting these when you apply for them. The Fill the Gap Scholarship is for people who are receiving financial aid in the 21-22 school year. So you have to do your FAFSA. You have to have that award letter that says you're getting financial aid, or at least at the time of application, you have to show me that SAR that says you're probably going to qualify for financial aid. You can get your financial aid award letter off of My NPC, and know that when it says letter, it's not really a letter. It's a little thing that says you got financial aid for the 2021 school year or the 21-22 school year. That's what you attach to your application. So you have to be getting financial aid to get this scholarship. Whoops. I'm going to put that back up. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to go back on the NPC scholarships into that one that's called the Leg Up. So the Fill the Gaps was the one we just talked about. The Leg Up Scholarship is the same thing. We give one at every campus and center. This is for students who do not qualify for financial aid. There are many reasons you may not qualify for financial aid, but the one you cannot use for this is, I don't want to fill out my FAFSA. I didn't have time to fill out my FAFSA. I didn't fill out my FAFSA. That's not, you have to show that you don't qualify for financial aid. So it may be that you quote unquote make too much money. Your estimated family contribution or EFC is too high. That does not disqualify you. We know that it makes it even harder for students like that sometimes to pay for college. It might be that you already have a degree, like you have a bachelor's degree. If you do, I want to talk to you. I want to know why you're going back to school, because we will consider your application. The only thing that boards don't want to see, or that scholarship committees don't want to see, is people who are like what we call career students, that are just people going to school and they're not going anywhere. So just call and talk to me about it. You know, if you don't qualify for financial aid, let's find out why and what you need to attach to apply for the scholarship. If you have a denial letter from the financial aid office that says you are quote unquote over the credit limit, what that means is, for those of you that don't know, financial aid, or the federal Pell, sets aside a certain number of credit hours for every degree. And so like an associate degree takes about 64 credit hours. In the case of the over the credit limit, it's something like 120 credit hours. If you have that many credit hours and you haven't earned a degree, they'll say you're over the credit limit. And so they'll say you're no longer eligible for financial aid. That doesn't necessarily, you may have a really good reason for that. You may be coming back and retooling for a new career. And so I want to talk to you about that. And that's what this leg up scholarship is for people who do not qualify for financial aid. In all these other cases, you still have to fill out the FAFSA, but you don't necessarily have to qualify for financial aid to apply for them. Some of these are only for graduating high school seniors. Okay, so like NPC on the House is you have to be graduating in 2021 from Show Low, Blue Ridge, or Snowflake High School. But a lot of these are for students that are, you know, going to NPC for other things, or for continuing students. So I encourage you to read about all of them. And I'm going to be posting another new one tomorrow. So this is the NPC Friends and Family Scholarship Search site that you can go to find things that you can apply for starting on Monday, March 1st. Okay, I want to show you one more thing, because this can be a great resource for you if you're going to an Arizona college or university, including NPC. The Arizona Community Foundation is an organization that manages scholarships. It manages multiple scholarships for multiple foundations. And so you can go on here and you can apply online. And what they're basically doing is, you're not applying for a single scholarship. You're creating an online profile with the Community Foundation. And that means you're going to write an essay and you're going to send some personal information in. And then they're going to match you with all of the scholarships that they manage for which you qualify. And sometimes that's all you need to do. They'll actually, you know, what you've sent to them in the profile is all you need to apply. And sometimes they'll tell you the additional steps. If you're interested in the scholarship, here's what you need to do next. So this can take out some of the legwork for you and save you a lot of time. But I will caution you, it's not a substitute for doing your own search, because that's going to produce the most results for you. So last but not least, if you write a scholarship essay and you want me to help you edit it, both for content and mechanics, please feel free to send it to me at betsy.wilson@npc.edu. Send it as a Word document and I will edit it for you, and I will send you 2 versions back. I'll send you the version that has all of my edits marked up so that you can see where I made changes or suggested changes. And I'll send you a clean copy that includes all of my changes. That way you can either go, okay, I'll take the clean copy, I like that, or you can go back in, I mean, it's your document, and you can say, I would rather keep the way I said this. I'm gonna keep that. So you can choose to take each change as it comes and keep some and discard others, you know, whichever you want to do. What I will tell you is, please give me about 2 weeks of lead time. Do not send me your essay the week that the scholarship is due, because I won't have time to get it back to you. But I would love to help you develop a strong essay, not just for NPC Friends and Family scholarships, but for other scholarships as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about the scholarships I just showed you, and I'm just going to give you a thumbnail sketch of them. And once again, these are due to me on Thursday, April 15th at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time. There are no exceptions. I don't care if your internet went down. I don't care if you couldn't get to a computer, because you have 6 weeks to get your application in. So don't send it to me on April 15th and go, oh, it didn't go through. All right, because that's not fair to all the people that did send it in early. So I just described to you the Fill the Gaps and the Leg Up Scholarship. This is $500, the Fill the Gaps for students who are receiving financial aid in fall 2021. So it's got to be your award letter that shows you're going to be getting financial aid in 2021, 2022. You have to be enrolled in 6 or more credits. You have to have a GPA, a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or better. And we're going to award 9 of these, 1 at each campus and center. The leg up, same stuff, but you have to document your ineligibility, okay, why you're not qualified for financial aid. The Press Winslow Memorial Scholarship was founded by a former NPC District Governing Board member and a great humanitarian, a wonderful man that lived in the community of Winslow and was a great volunteer and an advocate for education. We're going to be providing 2 of these scholarships for the fall 2021 semester. They're $1,000 each. You have to have a GPA of 2.5 and be enrolled in 6 or more credits. You also have to be what's called a continuing NPC student. So you have to have some NPC credits on board before you apply for this. The Jennifer Lee Witt Memorial Scholarship was founded this past year in memory of Jen Witt, who was one of our English and creative writing faculty at Northland Pioneer College. Her parents established this. It provides 3 scholarships in the fall of 21 for $1,000 apiece, GPA of 2.5, and enrolled in 6 or more credits. When it says you must show need, I want to see the student aid report from your FAFSA, but I also want you describing in your scholarship essay what you're going to use it for. Why do you need the scholarship? The Charles Lizitsky Memorial Scholarship is set aside for Native American students. It's $500 for the fall 21 semester. You have to have a cumulative GPA of 2.0 and be enrolled in 6 or more credits. The Jean Swarthout PhD Presidential Excellence Scholarship is a gift that was given to our former president, who's actually now our acting president again for a little while, at the time of her retirement. As the name implies, you have to have a GPA of 3.5 to apply for this one. Again, enrolled in 6 or more credits at the time of the award, and you have to show need for the scholarship. The Claude Millett Enfield Early Childhood Development Scholarship is just for students with a degree plan in early childhood development. We'll be awarding 3 of them in the fall semester for $500 apiece. You have to be enrolled in 3 or more credits towards your early childhood development certificate or degree, and you have to have a GPA of 2.0. This one requires 2 letters of recommendation. The Doris Reed Nursing Scholarship is 1 nursing scholarship. We hope to have a few more coming for the spring semester, but this is the one we have right now that's dedicated for nursing students. In this one, you have to show that you don't qualify for financial aid. The family of Doris Reed intends this to be for students that don't have any other way of funding their education through financial aid, and so you have to show that you don't qualify, much like for the leg up. We're going to be awarding 1 for fall 2021, $1,000. You have to have a 3.0 GPA, and you have to be in the nursing program or an allied health program. Okay, John Graff was a tremendous supporter of Northland Pioneer College Friends and Family, a great philanthropist. He passed away this past year, and he established 3 scholarships. The first one is for college and career prep students. So these are students who are not quite at college level. They're taking what we call adult basic ed classes with the intention of enrolling in a college degree program when they're ready. And they have to be in CCP classes, and it provides $500 a semester. 1 letter of recommendation is required for this one. The Career and Technical Education Scholarship is for students who are in some sort of a CTE field, and think welding, medical office manager, business, nursing assistant, construction technology, automotive technology, what we used to call vocational education. This is what this is for. You have to have your degree plan in one of those areas, and it's $500, and you have to have a letter of recommendation for this one. The University Bound Scholarship is for students whose degree plan states that they are pursuing an associate degree at NPC for transfer to a university. So this is an Associate of Arts, an Associate of Science, an Associate of Business, those degrees. And it has to be on your degree plan. $500, and it requires 2 letters of recommendation and a GPA of 3.0. Okay, if you are a U.S. military veteran, or if you are the spouse or the child or the dependent of a veteran, you can apply for this scholarship. This provides $500 in the fall semester. You do have to contact our veteran certifying official to be sure that you have all your veterans paperwork in order, and then the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. This is a new scholarship, the White Mountain Women's Club. They're going to be providing 2 $1,200 scholarships for fall 2021. And it's for students going to the Show Low campus, the White Mountain campus in Show Low, because it's the White Mountain Women's Club. You have to have 6 or more credits for the fall semester, a 2.5 GPA, and be able to show need. The House of Show Low, you guys know the great place for burgers and salads and music and entertainment up there in Show Low, has generously provided 3 $2,000 scholarships for the upcoming year. These are for graduating high school seniors. So if you're graduating high school senior, you can apply for them from Blue Ridge, Show Low, or Snowflake. This requires letters of recommendation as well. And the way that this is broken out, it's a $2,000 scholarship, but you'll get $1,000 in the fall semester. And then as long as you maintain your eligibility, your GPA, and you're enrolled in 6 or more credits, then you get it in the spring semester as well. The Arvin Palmer PhD Memorial Scholarship was founded by the friends and family of a former vice president of Northland Pioneer College, Dr. Arvin Palmer. It's going to provide $500 per semester, so it's a $1,000 scholarship, to a 2021 graduate of Snowflake High School attending Northland Pioneer College. You have to have a 3.0 GPA, and you have to have 2 letters of recommendation. And then this last one, the Corky Ellikin Scholarship, is for graduates of Alchesay High School from the 2021 school year, and it's for next year, $1,000 per semester to 1 male and 1 female student. You have to have graduated from Alchesay in 2021. So this is a brief description of the scholarships we have available in the fall semester from NPC Friends and Family. Applications begin being accepted on Monday, March 1st. The deadline is April 15th, but you're going to send yours way ahead of that. I know you are. So I am proud of you guys for pursuing a college education. I want to be a resource for you. I want to help you get there. And if you have any questions at all about scholarships, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and turn it over to Rebecca Hunt. And Becca, if you want to take questions and let me know what's in the chat, I will answer questions as well as I can.
Yes, Betsy, we actually had several questions tonight. The first question was, if I plan to serve a mission after attending a year of college, but also plan to go back to school after the mission, should I list this on my application for a scholarship?
Okay, so in the case of the Arvin Palmer Scholarship, if you're going on a mission, you can actually defer that until you get back. So you can apply for that this year. And then if you're awarded, you can say, okay, I'm going on my mission. Please hold the scholarship for me, and I'm going to enroll at NPC when I get back. In most cases, though, I strongly encourage you to wait until your mission is over, or in your you're in the last few months of your mission before you're going to college, and then start applying for scholarships, because most of them will not defer. Some of them will, depending on what college or university you're attending, but you need to verify that. And I think it's best if you wait until you're ready to go to college to start applying for those scholarships. And another way that can help you is going on a mission is a pretty cool thing and shows you to be a pretty resourceful person, because you're going and doing great volunteer work, you're expanding your horizons, and that gives you even more to put in that scholarship essay. Does that help? Okay.
Okay, so then the next question was, under the Leg Up Scholarship, one of the criteria for the scholarship is a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. I am a senior in high school and I don't have my degree just yet. How do I apply for this scholarship?
Do you have credit hours at NPC? Have you taken any classes through dual or concurrent enrollment or NAVIT?
No.
Okay, so you can't apply for it until the second semester. What high school are you graduating from?
Snowflake.
Okay, so apply for the Arvin Palmer Scholarship and apply for the House Scholarship for sure. Okay.
Okay, she says thank you.
Thanks.
The next one is, when is FAFSA due for fall 2021?
The priority deadline, do you know what it is? I think it's March 4th, but that doesn't mean.
I actually pulled it up, and no,
Okay.
for fall 2021, it is April 15th. For the summer, it would have been March 15th, but it opened October 1st. So that
Right.
means you are way behind, and you you probably need to get it done very soon, so you're not competing with your scholarship applications while filling it out. It is only
also,
about 20 to 45 minutes, depending on the person.
those are what's called priority deadlines. That doesn't mean that it's, that you can't submit it after that, but it's going to slow up your opportunity to receive aid, and it's going to slow up your ability to apply for scholarships. So get her done.
It actually messes a few other things up. The note on npc.edu is, and FYI, this is actually different for every school. So other institutions, other colleges will have different deadlines. But the note on NPC says, if you do not complete all 3 steps listed above before the semester priority deadline, and it has to do with filling out the application, the NPC Financial Aid Office will be unable to determine your award before the start of classes. That means you will have to pay for your tuition, fees, and books out of your own pocket or budget your payments. If you do not pay tuition and fees and make full payment arrangements, by the time you're enrolled, you will be dropped from classes. So in other words, because there are other steps after filling out the FAFSA where they may require additional information, it is very important that you get it done way ahead of time.
Other questions?
Not on my list, but there might be more tonight that want to unmute and speak.
Okay, do you want to allow people to unmute, and then you can use the raise your hand function under reactions, and we'll try to answer. Becca, I'm going to rely on you to see people and call on them.
I'm scanning.
Okay.
I will see you unmute as well if you don't know how to raise your hand. I know on phones it's a little different.
And do you all know how to unmute? Or you can also add additional questions to chat if you have them. Okay, if there are no other questions, you're free to leave the meeting. If you think of them later, Becca put my email in the chat. Please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me. I will be looking forward to reading your scholarship essays and to seeing your applications soon. And thank you, Tara, I appreciate that. And then there's my work phone also posted if you want to give me a call. We are all working remotely, but my phone does ring through to my computer, so I'm able to get messages and get back to you. Okay, good luck to all of you, and appreciate you attending tonight. Thank you so much. Becca, I'll stay on with you until